Welcome to Capture the World with Dee. Interviews with companies and individuals to learn more about digitally capturing the built world. Video, drone, 3D tours, pictures, panoramas, and more. And now your host, a social influencer and community activist, Dee Johnson.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Capture the World with Dee. I'm your host, Dee Johnson. I have a very exciting guest today. He's the Chief Strategy Officer of DocuSketch, a powerful software platform that transformed 360 images into a unique and effective way of documenting the status of a property over time, primarily for use in the insurance industry. So without further ado, please help me welcome Jeff Turner.
How are you doing?
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Good. So we've had you on before talking about ImmoViewer, which is a fantastic product that I'm sure is going to take off, and it already has, actually. But today we're here to talk about DocuSketch, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's for insurance, the insurance vertical, but also more than that because
It's for the home restoration and actually the home inspection as well. So it was built specifically to do documentation using 3D, 360, the creation of floor plans. We have a very unique way of capturing detail inside of an image so that you can, further document points of origin for problems like from a water break or a flood or a leak or wherever the damage starts. This was the origin of the fire in the house. Here's a detailed shot of a piece of property that they want to be particularly careful about. The attachment of documents that might be of interest to somebody inside of the context of a 360 tour as well. So there's DocuSketch, the name was developed out of the two parts of this that are important, the documentation and sketching, the floor plans, the actual sketches that come as a result of the capturing of the images.
Okay, so let's take a step back and let's first of all tell everybody what is DocuSketch.
So DocuSketch was sort of born from ImmoViewer. So ImmoViewer entered the United States market in late 2016, 2017. They were part of the NAR Reach Accelerator. They were the first foreign company actually to be a part of the NAR Reach Accelerator program here in the United States. And it was designed as a marketing platform. So very similar to other products like Matterport that, you go out and you create a tour of a home and it's used for marketing. Steve Bintz, who was our national director of sales at the time, was at a conference in New York when a guy walked up to him and said, I think you're using this in the wrong market. And he was already an ImmoViewer client, but he was using it for home restoration on Long Island. And he was taking photographs of burnt out houses and, flood damage. These weren't pretty photos. They weren't the typical photos you saw in a marketing effort. And it became clear after looking at what he was doing that there was a segment of the market that really was underserved by this kind of technology.
Yes.
So we decided to pursue, how would we do this? And we tried to just take ImmoViewer into that market. But I'm not joking, on the very first job that we went out to shoot, and I was there walking through it, it was instantly clear that if you try to take a workflow and a process designed for marketing a home into a space where you have poor lighting, damage is done, you need a completely different process. And they were even more concerned about time on site, how long it took to actually capture and what the process of capturing was. So we scrapped all of that, took the underlying engine from ImmoViewer and built an entirely new interface and an entirely new way of doing it on top of it. And we did it working directly with specifically a couple of DKI, which is a restoration company, restoration franchise company here in Southern California. And Ralph von Grafenstein, who's one of the founders of the company, would fly over from Germany, and he'd spend a week here in LA with me, and we'd go out and we'd spend a day
Hmm.
shooting restoration jobs out on site,
Wow.
seeing
That's,
how the
yeah.
customer was using it,
Yeah.
and then feeding that back into product development so that we came up with what I think is, well, what I know is the easiest, most effective way to capture a restoration project. I was telling you before we got on, I shot a new demo video on Friday. As we're coming out of COVID, I'm actually allowed to get into my neighbor's houses now. My neighbor was gone. He's got a just under 2,800 square foot house that was captured in its entirety in 8 minutes. The entire video from start to finish, no stopping, is 8 minutes. It's the entire capture of the house. And the floor plan is created from this capture, and I'm happy to show it. I can share what it looks like here. You can't do this faster. You can't do it
Yeah.
easier than the way that we've done it. And it's actually, for us, it's the most exciting aspect of what we're doing. We were able to finally come into an industry that had an appreciation for the need to capture in this way,
Yep.
and for the end product of a floor plan and an SKX file, or a file that can be uploaded into Xactimate, which is the main insurance documentation
Yes.
product in the market.
So you've said some key things here. You've said myself and the head guy at the company went out and did it ourselves, and we
Yeah.
gave feedback. Key, right? Because a
Key.
lot of the stuff that people do, they're doing it in a bubble. They're not really using the product. Number two, you said we rewrote a lot of it because we realized we were, so this is the other thing that like Matterport will do. They'll say, okay, we want to go in now in the AEC industry. We've got this thing. It's a round peg, and now we have this square hole, and we're going to just shove it in the hole, right? It doesn't work, right? And when I was at Matterport, I was the insurance person in support,
Mhm.
and it was obvious that there were things that needed to be changed to make it work for the insurance vertical, and those were never, implemented. So this is a great company that has a great attitude that understands what you really need to do to be successful.
Well, it was, I'll give you a perfect example. Actually, let me share my iPhone screen, if
Okay.
you don't mind. Okay. So let me just share my screen real quick. And I'm gonna show you one of the things that we did, which I think you'll find interesting. All right, are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
So I've just created a DocuSketch tour real quick, and I'm gonna hit Office and create this office. I'm gonna add a shot. We built the original. Now this feature is built into Ricoh cameras, but before Ricoh built this ability to take yourself out of a photo without having to leave the room, we built it ourselves with a different camera and had it function on our servers. So we developed what we call quick capture. They call it time shift is
Yeah.
what they call it on
Yep.
Ricoh. We call it quick capture. So when you're using the MadVenture or the Xiaomi Mi Sphere on DocuSketch, we call it quick capture. We call it time shift when you're using the Ricoh cameras on our system. And so the time shift is, I can set this to whatever I want. I'm going to just do a single shot mode here just so that you can see what's going on. I'm going to capture the image. So it's capturing the image, and it's in my office. But what I want to show you, this is what ends up happening. We're still in beta with this version of it. So let me submit that report. Let me just go back in. Anyone has ever demoed software, they know that this is what happens. So I don't feel badly about that at all.
It
Let me
makes you
just go back
human.
in and do it again. I work almost exclusively with beta versions of software on my phone. So sometimes it works perfectly and sometimes it doesn't, but there's a reason why it's leased. So what we have the ability to do is, obviously you can go in and do this, but you'll notice up at the top, and yes, I am wearing shorts. So it's sort of semi-business at the top and not at the bottom. What I do have the ability to do here is, if I want to capture a detail, So let's say I want to capture the detail of what's happening there. I hard press on that,
Whoa.
right? And I'm going to capture a detail here, right? And again, I've just installed this new one. This is the detail. Go to town, and now I've sort of basically put that image in context. So when I click on that, it's going to give me that. If I see this in the tour, I'm actually going to be able to navigate around through the tour, not just through the floor plan and not just navigating through it the way you would navigate through a home, but I can also navigate through it by going from comment to comment.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we did this and the way we built it was we watched a restoration company worker go through, and they were shooting, just snapping these detailed photos throughout the house without paying attention. And so we wanted to give them the same thing. But what they were having to do when they went back to the office was download them, name them by room, number them by room. They had this whole process they had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can add comments here in the same way, and you can just snap and not have anything to do with it. Just say, okay, I can snap another detail photo if I want to get really close to the floorboard to show a problem, to do something like that, I can just snap and do this. And these end up also being in the context of that room. But when you get back to the office, we've named them for you. They're organized by room. They go into folders specifically by room, and they all show up in the context of that room if you want. So if I want to go back in here now, and I want to put that detail photo right there, I can choose from the existing photos that I've already taken and go ahead and put that into the comments. Or I can drag a comment onto the screen if I want. So what we've essentially done is built a workflow that makes it really, really easy to capture and document what's happening inside of that room. Right from your iPhone or your Android or your iPad or whatever. We're not limited to the iOS environment.
So it's like sort of like matter tags.
Yeah, it's very similar, but it's done very, very quickly, very easily, and captured on the same device that you're using in that moment.
So is it possible to take the 360 pano though and zoom in to see the damage?
Yeah, you absolutely can, but often you want even greater detail than that, very, very specifically. So one of the other things that we saw restoration professionals doing was, yes, you could measure a floorboard inside of a system, but if you really want it to be accurate, what they do is they take their tape measure, they put it down next to the floor, and they snap a picture of it. That way they've got full documentation. This is exactly the floorboard I'm talking about.
Interesting.
We tried not to force our assumptions about how someone wanted to work into the environment. We watched them work, and we said, how do we make what they want to do more efficient? And we felt like that was the right way to approach this. Don't make an assumption that just because you know how to write software, that you understand how a restoration company wants to work out in the field, what environments they're going to find themselves in. So for example, if you're in a burned out room where you may be seeing studs through most of it, how do you get an accurate measurement from a scanned image?
I've seen a lot of Matterports of burned buildings, but you don't even see the floor. It's just like piles of stuff.
That's
and
correct.
I don't know if it's the foam or what, but you can't, I never knew how they could figure out where the edges of the room were, because it's just black.
And so one of the things you can do in that same process is to give a reference measurement. I'm going to hard press on that wall, and I'm just going to say, that wall, you may not be able to see it, that wall is 11 feet 6 inches long. And as a result, it feeds more data into the system and gives more accurate results. So what ends up happening is, and I'll show you the house, I'll go ahead and do one more screen share for you so you can see how this works. This is the tour that I shot on Friday. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Okay.
All right. So this is the floor plan. This is where we're at. It shows where we're pointing. It gives
Yep.
us the ability to look in that direction. And as I spin around, it gives me that. So I
Uh-huh.
have the ability to navigate via the floor plan, or I can navigate the way, you navigate in other three. And you'll notice that because we've created this floor plan, it does understand that there's a wall there. There is a 3D understanding of this image. So if I want to navigate to this position, I do it the same way I do with any other tour. Only this entire property took me 8 minutes to capture.
Yeah,
Eight
that's
minutes.
amazing. That's comparable to the other stuff that's out there. That's like, yeah. This is a
So
no-brainer. I mean,
yeah, this is simple. Now, if I had captured comments, and let me show you what this looks like really quickly. I'll go to another tour, and I also want to. Sorry, I do a lot of testing, so you can see a whole bunch of just crazy
so
crazy stuff in here.
in 8 minutes, not only did you get a floor plan, but you got 360 panos and a virtual tour.
That's correct. And so a lot of what we do with Pillar to Post, for example, which is a large home inspection company that we work with. Let me just make certain that this is going to. I want to show you what happens from a navigation standpoint with the comments. We actually have a direct integration with their 1 point system where they do their inspection
Uh-huh.
and then they initiate the capture of a DocuSketch tour. We pull over all of their comments based upon the room. And so now all of these comments here, so if I click on the garage and I click on electronic eye was detected, it's going to it's going to navigate me to the garage, and it's going to show the detailed photo and the comment coming from the inspection point. So you have the ability not only to navigate utilizing the floor plan,
Yeah.
but the comments as well. And so you get this really deep documentation of what's happening. And it works the exact same way in the restoration industry. Any comments they're making as they're going through and documenting the damage, those end up being in the context. Any images that they're capturing in that room end up being in the context of the 3D 360 photo.
Now, do you import all of those to Xactimate as well?
We can. So right now we're just doing the sketch,
Mm-hmm.
where I can't actually say where we're at in that process right now because we're under NDA. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, the potential for having all of that come over as a single package exists. The other thing I want to show you real quickly that we do, because I think it's important to understand, we have what we call a timeline tour.
See, this
Uh,
is what I've had people ask me about, and a frequent request at Matterport, and they just never did it. So, but this is not just for insurance. This is other people
It could
wanted
be for
this.
anything. It could be
Yeah.
for, just documenting progress on a job. But in the restoration industry, what we heard, again, we built it based upon the feedback we got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We want to, they go in and they take pictures of this is what this space looked like before.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would often go in and take photographs of where they placed the dryers, for example, the air blowers to
Mm-hmm.
dry out a space.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed to document that as well. And then they would go back in and document when we were done, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what we built was this timeline tour. So I can either, I did it, this is my house, we painted a few months ago. I can go look at this. We take the timestamp directly from the image.
Mm-hmm.
So the insurance company knows that this is the exact time that these images were taken.
Mm-hmm.
This was on August 28th. The next one is on August 29th, and the next one's on September 6th. So I can just jump if I want to September 6th and show the image of the
Ta-da!
project, right? Or I can do a compare where I can see them side by side. And so I can look at the two things side by side to show the progress. And if I want to go into split mode, I can see it that way and look around to see the image.
Whoa! Oh, that's so cool. Whoa! Yeah, somebody ate all your food.
Yeah. So the
Whoa!
the end game, and if I didn't place the camera in the exact right position, I can simply hit sync, and then I can move things around appropriately until I get it back together,
Whoa!
and then move it around. So the
Whoa!
goal here was to provide an additional way for a restoration company or anyone documenting a job to say, here's the timeline of progress, here's what it looked like before, here's what it looked like at the end. And ultimately, this becomes a really good marketing tool for the restoration companies as well.
Well, I built the house that I'm currently living in, and I would have loved to have this because I would then be able to take pictures before the drywall was installed, so I know where all the wiring is, all the plumbing, right?
Absolutely. We've actually talked to some home construction companies about doing just that. There is a sort of a wow factor. Somebody comes in and they buy a new home, going in at the framing stage and doing a 360 tour of the framing stage,
Yep.
going back in just before drywall puts up, so you actually can see where the wires are and where
Yeah.
all the fixtures are.
I mean, that's key for
Yeah,
me for
it's really cool.
maintenance, right? Because sometimes it's like I want to drill into this wall, but is there a plumbing pipe that goes up
Yeah,
and down here?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, for us, the goal was, how do we provide a tool that does what they want to do in the context of what they do, and make it something really, really useful, and make it easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the combination of easy, inexpensive, because these cameras aren't expensive,
Yes.
and then a product at the end that functions in the way that it needs to be able to function. It gives them SKX files, gives them the sketches, gives them the images. In addition, what we do with every 360 image is we cut apart the images into a cube. So you've got 4 square images that are flat images that can be downloaded. Each of those are downloaded by room, by shot, and named as well. A lot of companies can't see the 360 images, so we cut them apart so that they can see them as flat.
Yeah.
So you see straight up, you see straight down, and then you've got 4 square images looking around the room that give you the ability to look at those as well.
Cool. Yeah. It's amazing that you've created this product by actually going out and figuring out what people need instead of sitting in your office trying to guess what people need. That's
Well, and it was fun at the same time. I worked, one of the companies that I worked with is actually here in Santa Clarita, California, where I live. And so I would go out on when we had the fires down here a year and a half ago, the last time we had the big fire, the Malibu fires. I went out with him on jobs, and watched him shoot where I wasn't shooting. I was watching him shoot,
yep.
watching how and when he was struggling with the software. We needed to build this software to be used with one hand, for example, because they're often carrying other things, or they're trying to do something, or they're it's little things like that you don't, until you're in the environment, until you're watching someone utilize the product, you don't recognize how important it is.
Yep.
For example, for them to be able to capture those comment images using one hand and not having to fool around with anything. And it's little things like that it becomes really, really significant, really, really important.
Okay, so I go out to the job site, I take
Yeah.
my 360 panos, then what do I do?
You just upload it.
And
So
then, poof, out comes a floor plan.
overnight, we actually have a greater than 24-hour turnaround for our sketches. So overnight, you get your sketch back. If you've requested an SKX file to be put into Xactimate, that comes as well. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
So if
Click, press, zoom.
so I'm interested in your product and I want to sign up. How do I do that?
So we do have an onboarding process because we like to manage the flow of it. You asked me before we got on, where's the buy link? There is no buy now link. You need to send an email to help@docusketch.com, and then Tom, who's our lead salesperson, will give you a call. He'll help understand how many sketches per month you're going to need, and the size of your job and where you're located, and get you scheduled for training and make certain that you're up and running in the right way.
Wow. So he'll do that for every customer.
For every customer.
Wow. Okay. And what are the costs? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So we have a $129 a month base fee. That's the fee for the platform. So that archives everything. That gives you the ability to create an unlimited number of tours. And then we have a minimum number of tours that you need to commit to, and sketches of 5 or 10, and you choose. And there's a slight discount on the first five or the first 10 tours, but that's the cost. A sketch plus an ESX file costs $45.
Okay, so this is the key. The only other company that I know of, and there may be others that I don't know about, but I know that Matterport does the same thing, and they call it TrueSketch. It's a minimum of $100. I think it's like 99 or something.
Right.
So you're going to now get all of this for less, right?
Correct.
Because at Matterport, you also need to have the subscription and all that, which is high. So on your ESX files, do you give actual heights? Do you measure the heights? Or
So
is it...
we have all of the measurements that you would expect to have in an ESX file. So depending on what's been shot, everything. We don't have any complaints about our ESX files. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. So the difference is for $99 at Matterport, you get an ESX file, but it assumes that the walls are just the standard 8 feet. So it's not real. So most people didn't get that. They would get the souped up version, which is a minimum of, I think it's crazy. It's like people are paying $300 to $700 for these files. But the difference is that you've automated this, right?
Well, there's a large portion of what we do on the sketching side that is automated. We use the same basic processes as we do at ImmoViewer. We have 2 pieces of artificial intelligence that sit between a human who ultimately goes in. Today, our ESX files are like the base Matterport ESX files. We assume a standard ceiling height.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We do. And now, can we include the ceiling height? Yes. We don't yet, because the vast majority of people actually don't need us to provide it. Oh. So while, yes, some people may be paying that $300 to $400, I'm telling you right now, the number of people who are going to be willing to pay $300 to $400 to have that sketch done is few. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
At that point, you're better off sketching it yourself.
Yeah.
So our objective here was to create a really fast, really inexpensive way to get to what you need to do to get an estimate done for an insurance company inside of the parameters that the insurance companies who are running these programs want those estimates to come back in.
Yes.
They have a compressed time frame that they need to do this in.
Yes.
And so the need to get that sketch overnight is critical. It's critical that it come overnight. It's not just nice to have in the real estate marketing. It's critical. And so part of the reason why we don't just allow everybody to come in and buy now is we want to make certain that we've got the right capacities to make certain that we keep that promise. That if you sign up for DocuSketch and we onboard you and you submit a job, you will have that sketch within that 24-hour time frame, if not sooner. In fact, the vast majority of clients get it in what we call overnight mode. If it comes in before 6 p.m. their time, it's back before noon the next day. Mm-hmm. Wow. And that includes the SKX file.
Wow. Okay. So wow. So a company that actually cares about doing the right thing. Amazing.
I mean, I think there are a lot of companies out there that try to function in the same way. I would hope that we're not unique in that.
Yeah, I've run across a lot of companies that are just like money, right? I'll take on more on knowing I can't do it. Let's just...
I'll tell you right now that for the longest time, people wondered whether or not we were real because we weren't taking on clients and because we don't have a buy now button. And I'm not going to apologize for not having a buy now button. You know,
I mean, I kind of was like that with you. I was like, wait a minute.
I know. Like, I don't understand. No, I think it's okay. It's okay to say, no, I want to be able to keep a promise. And the only way I can keep a promise is to make certain, one, that you're onboarded properly. You know how to shoot this. If you go out and you haven't been trained properly, even though it's really, really easy to click the button and move the camera, if you don't understand why you need to put the camera so that you can see into the 3 rooms in that hallway, like there's a reason why. Mm-hmm. For everyone involved, including the artificial intelligence, to be able to understand that space, and you come back and submit your images. You've gone out and you've shot the images, but you forget to take that photo, that critical photo in the hallway that connects those rooms together,
Mm-hmm.
you can't get a sketch back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's going to get blamed for that?
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
get blamed for that.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's a bad customer experience. So no, I'm not going to apologize for that. I think it's necessary for people to understand what's required, even though it's really, really simple to learn, because it's often the simple things that get forgotten in the heat of the moment when you're out in the real world.
Well, I think it says a lot that that it's a company that wants to make sure people get it right and that wants to make their experience better and would sacrifice potentially maybe some more orders for, for making sure that whoever you're servicing is happy. So,
Yeah,
wow.
and we don't actually feel like we've sacrificed anything. We really don't. We made the growth a little bit slower in the beginning, but we have ample capacities right now to bring on lots and lots and lots of customers, and we are. And so
Hmm.
we feel like we made the right decisions in the right time, and
Hmm.
we did it the right way.
Yeah, I commend you. I'm so in awe and I respect you so much. I mean, just
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But
these
it's a team effort, right? You have to have corporate values are lived top down. That's the way it always works. And Ralph von Grafenstein, much to his credit, is very, very, very interested in making certain that this is a product that works,
hmm.
period.
Hmm.
It works in every aspect of works, both from a ability to keep the company afloat from a profit standpoint, and the ability to make certain that you're meeting the promises that you make when your salesperson's on the phone with somebody and they say, yes, you'll get a sketch in 24 hours.
Hmm. Fantastic. I need to meet Ralph one day.
Yeah, one day we'll make it happen. Ralph's an interesting cat.
It just makes me feel good that you guys care and this is the way you've done things, and because I've seen other companies that have, maybe not so good company culture. And it hurts. It hurts me inside because I'm the kind of person that wants to give the best to the customer. And when I hear something like this, it's heartwarming. So,
Well,
yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it. We we love what we've built at DocuSketch. We think we've done a good job with their things. This version of the app that I showed here today isn't actually live.
Hmm.
So a lot of people who are current customers who might watch this are going to, that's not what my app looks like. Okay, well, it's coming soon. Um, so we're in constant development mode. We're in constant update mode. We still to this day continue to listen to customers. We
Hmm.
really feel like it's important to make certain that we don't get too complacent
Yep.
about the software
Yep.
specifically, how it's used in the field.
Yeah. Terrific. Well, the insurance industry is large, so if you
It's
can
very
help
large.
people, and I've talked to a lot of the adjusters, and they were like, I can't stand having to go out and hand sketch all this and then go home and put it into Xactimate. And so this is just a godsend, and you're going to save a lot of people a lot of time and make them happy. So,
Thanks. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share the story with you.
yeah. So thank you so much for taking
You're
your
so
time, Jeff.
welcome.
I hope you all have learned just as much as I have. I think this is a great product. I think this is a wonderful company. If you aren't using DocuSketch or if you're in real estate, check out ImmoViewer. Again, you can get that for free if you just go to your MLS. Is that how you
Yeah,
get?
ask your MLS to contact us.
So, gosh, what have you got to lose? Great company. I look forward to hearing more from Jeff in the future and maybe
Great.
having some kind of connection with him. Anyway,
Dee, thank you so much.
thanks for joining us today. This has been Capture the World with Dee. I will see you all next week. Take care. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.